What's going on? He turned me around in the editing software. I can't see you anymore. Oh, it's fine. Don't worry about it. I got the LD shop PNG off. Oh, he took it off you? That's great. But what happens now? What happens now is we part ways. What? Why? What's going on? Let's just say I've been given the go-ahead. What does that mean? Enough with the riddles. What are you going to do? Oh, don't worry about it. It'll be alright. What'll be alright? What are you going to do? Who just played gunshot audio files in the editing software? Welcome to the final part of my Attack vs Anomaly series in Zenless Zone Zero. We've talked about how the early game poorly prepares players for stun agents, how gear favors one side over the other, and today we're going to talk about the agents themselves. Fact of the matter is, nothing else matters more than the actual units that reside within the archetypes and how it can drive the meta when compared to other archetypes. So let's dig in and wrap up the last of this discussion. Let me briefly remind everyone of the concept of ease of use brought up in part 2. In the context of ZZZ, the easier the agents are to use, and of course the more agents they can synergize with, the overall better the agent will be. To cut to the chase immediately, Anomaly agents by design already work with one another right out of the gate. The disorder mechanic, which only asks that two agents of a separate element apply an anomaly attribute within a short period of time of one another, allows so many different combinations of two anomaly agents to work when compared to attack stun agents. By comparison, attack agents have clear preferences when it comes to stun agents. Zuyuan needs to attack stunned enemies to get the most out of her DPS, only really leaving her with Qingyi. Soldier 11, Ellen Zhou, and Hugo have an overwhelming preference for lighter, with Lycon being a weaker alternative for the latter two, but not an option for Soldier 11. Soldier 0 Ambi was designed to be an attack agent with a higher on-field time, and loses damage potential without Trigger or Pulchra. Harumasa's most consistent source for generating electro quivers is chain attacks, and assuming he has a 4-piece Thunder Metal disc set, he really wants Qingyi. And Coletta is just bad. That's not to say none of the aforementioned characters won't work with alternatives, but the gap in performance is much more noticeable than Anomaly teams, whom have a level of flexibility that attack stun combos won't ever reach to the same level. So now with viable team combinations out of the way, let's rapid fire every attack and anomaly agent to really put into picture just how easy anomaly agents have it. So with that statement made, let's start with the anomaly agents first. Piper just spins her axe, dealing rapid assault anomaly buildup in such an insanely short time span, all while being an A-rank agent. The only thing you have to worry about with Piper is managing your energy and remembering that you're not invincible while spinning and dodging when necessary. Grace is definitely the weakest of the anomaly agents in the roster, with the slowest anomaly attribute buildup rate due to how quickly she eats through her energy when on field, and how awkward it is to position with her in combat. But despite all this, she does decently enough for what is considered the bottom of the anomaly barrel. Jane Doe might not have the same assault buildup rate as Piper, but is a lot more comfortable to play thanks to her third additional dodge, and having massive, sweeping attacks that cover a large area. Bernice is the easiest anomaly agent to play, and debatably even the easiest offensive agent to play in ZZZ. All you need to do is maintain her heat meter and ensure enemies are tagged with her scorched effect, and that is it. Yanagi is incredibly strong, with a moderate level of difficulty to play her with her stance changing mechanic and ideal combos. However, her strength massively outweighs the cons of learning her kit. Miyabi. Lastly, we have Vivian, and while there's definitely a high skill ceiling to performing well with her when compared to Bernice, her bloom damage is so incredibly strong that it more than meets the demand for a more nuanced playstyle. There is of course Alice coming out in a couple days as well. If you've had a chance to play her during the 2.1 story content, you'd know how simple her kit is to play, and it's safe to assume her power level will definitely be in the upper reaches of the Anomaly roster. I hope that with all this taken into account, it should be no surprise why Anomaly is so strong with such an insane lineup of characters like these, with only Grace being the real odd one out in terms of power. And as a reminder, because of how Disorder works in ZZZ, players are going to be using 2 of these 8 characters in a team, with the only limitation being agents with an overlapping element. Now, to put this all into perspective, let's look at all the attack agents. Billy Kid, Anton, and Korin, all being A-rank agents, unfortunately did not get away with the same level of power that Piper got away with. And it really shows, as the level of skill expression needed to make these agents work demands so much more than the petite spin-to-win trucker. I've already made a video breaking down Nakamata very recently, but to quickly reiterate, her kit is way too bare bones, 6 seconds of a buff duration on her core passive is way too short, and having to rely on 2 assault procs as an attack agent for a source of potent damage buffs kneecaps her to the point of being considered worse than the A-rank attack agents in some cases. Soldier 11, just like Nakamata, is just way too bare bones, with the only interesting thing about her is her timed input mechanics, which in a game like ZZZ that can get so incredibly fast-paced and chaotic can be a lot to ask for from casual players. Ellen Jo, while having received some spectacular buffs with version 2.0, is still very resource management intensive with her flash freeze charges, and without Mindscape 1 can leave a lot of players unsure with how they should be managing their charges. Zhu Yuan is incredibly reliant on the effectiveness of your stun agent, as she deals a lot of damage during stun periods, and her enhanced shot shells need to be used efficiently to maximize her damage. If your stun game is lacking, your Zhu Yuan is lacking. Haramasa is okay, but has a higher skill floor when compared to other agents that potentially turns off others from playing him, which only serves to kick him while he's down when you remember he debuted in the same patch as Miyabi. As for Soldier Zero Ambi, aside from talks I've heard about how she can be hit out of her ultimate, I'm actually not really well educated enough on her problems, so I'm just gonna drop this video from Santa YT in case any of you want the details from an experienced Ambi owner. So, we already gone through 9 different attack agents with underwhelming kits or skill expression that is much more demanding than the roster of Anomaly Agents. And we've only got 2 attack agents left that are considered strong characters. Evelyn is the obvious stronger pick with a lot of area of effect, combo options, grouping capabilities, pseudo chain attacks she can use on demand, and an incredibly high damage floor even when played at a low skill level. That leaves us with just Hugo left, whom only comes out to consume an enemy's stun period for massive damage. This makes Hugo the easiest character to play per se, but that's because his performance is reliant on the stun agents on Hugo's teams. At which point, we are having a whole different conversation on how well invested a player's stun agent options are. So out of a total of 11 attack agents, 5 of them are not worth building to the average player, 4 of them are solid but very dependent on the player's investment and skill expression, and only 2 of them can even come close to the same level of power of half of the Anomaly cast of characters. And as a reminder, Anomaly characters have an advantage of working with each other. The same cannot be said for attack agents. In most cases, you need to pull stun agents, which have their own set of conditions and differences in power between themselves that limits which teams and characters they can go with. I'm sure there are many of you whom will disagree with me on if the requirements of an attack and stun agent over 2 Anomaly agents is objectively better. But I think we can both agree that the attack agent roster has way too many characters who are struggling to stand on their own 2 legs, much less compete with the juggernaut that is the Anomaly roster. So between early game presentation of the 2 respective archetypes mechanics, the gear options on offer, and the characters themselves, everything should come together to explain why I believe that the Anomaly lineup of agents are in a much healthier game state than the attack, stun agents, and how they're faring in the current state of Zenless Zone Zero. Something definitely needs to be done to the current state of attack, stun agents in ZZZ to improve their overall performance for the weaker units, be it direct buffs, or a greater variety of teammate options to help prop things up. As of right now, the only things we have to look forward to is the introduction of 2 new attack agents in version 2.2, Seed and Orphean Mangus. However, given ZZZ's history of banner releases with previous agents, it's safe to assume that these 2 new agents aren't meant to shake up the attack specialty, rather they'll just have some obscure, hyper-specific kits that make you want to pull both and use each other in the same team. And if that's the case, these 2 attack agents will effectively do what Anomaly agents already do in the game, which is facilitate dual DPS team comps and gameplay. Whereas before, the whole design philosophy of attack agents in the first place was to facilitate single DPS team comps. Well, you know what they say, if you can't beat them, join them. And with that, I have said all I really wanted to about the Attack vs Anomaly problem in Zenless Zone Zero. If you've kept up with all 3 videos in this series, I greatly appreciate it. I understand that for many of you, the reason you come to my channel is for my analytical content and discussions, and likely roll your eyes whenever I cover drama. I can understand your frustration with some of my more recent topics I've been covering. However, I think it's important for a healthy online space and ability to welcome newcomers that controversies need to be addressed and to not let narratives be spun about your community. As long as it's discussed in good faith and without losing your cool, I don't see a problem with needing to stop misinformation or bad faith arguments in their tracks before things get out of hand. With that all being said, I personally definitely do need to strike a better balance with my content so I don't get lost in the sauce again. There will always be more analytical content, there will always be more discussion content, and there will always be more drama content. As a viewer, you have the power to consume and support the content you enjoy, and simply tune out of whatever you do not like. Whatever you do, I hope it's because you enjoy what I do, whatever that may be. But until then, this has been Arikado Zodan, and I'm clocking out.